Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Sin Bin. CMB Reggae is on a continuing mission to keep people up to speed on the latest reggae happenings in the Mid Atlantic. This afternoon, we have a band joining us who has been a staple of the Philadelphia area for 25 years. This act has captured the essential spirit of roots reggae, but nevertheless still pushes the envelope of creativity, infusing sounds of world music, jazz, EDM, and dub into their performances. In the past, they have opened up for Modest Yahoo, Lee Scratch Perry, Black Uhuru, and Damian Marley, just to name a few. It is my pleasure to introduce Cassie Rowland and Derek Rowland, the driving force behind the seven-piece band known as I Arkestra. How are you today?
Great.
We're wonderful. Thanks,
Thanks
Chris.
for having us.
Yeah, thanks for
No
having us.
problem.
It's great to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen your act a couple times, about three or four times over a period of years. I do remember that the first time I met you all was in a very, very hot 2 day music festival in Delaware, um, where
It
my,
was.
my staff convinced me to camp out in 95-degree weather. So it was a personal
Trooper,
journey, but nevertheless.
troopers,
It
Um,
was. It
troopers.
was.
okay, so I guess the first question is give us your 1 minute elevator pitch. If you want people to know something about your band, what is it you would like them to know? Are you there?
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
conscious music, good music for everybody. You know, we like to improv, but we stay steady to the roots. We play pretty heavy dub. We get psychedelic, um, herb trance music, um, heavy bass, lots of
Okay.
percussion.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Where did the name I Orchestra come from? Orchestra come from?
Um, it's a mix up from Sun Ra Orchestra from Philadelphia, who was a big influence to us, and a book called The Itations of Rastafari, which is where the spelling I or I and I comes from.
Hmm. Okay. And this was just a collaborated decision and said you just said this is what we should call it, and then it became a thing.
It was
Yeah.
yeah, Cass.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think, the I and I was very important to us because it's there's no separation in between you and me. Our
Mhm.
music is very spiritual. It's our life path. So it's not just music we make for genre. It's actually, part of who we are and what we're living for, how we raise our family, where we put our energies into. So the I and I was essentially especially important and succinct in bringing that message across and also standing and serving as a constant reminder to us as well that through tribulations and triumphs that we are one and we can do the work, the hard work that's necessary to continue on that path forward to bring us to greater peace and oneness, which is essential in
Mhm.
perpetuating a beautiful, beautiful, rich world.
And the arc is kind of the carrier of that
Yeah.
spirit.
And everyone's on the arc.
Yeah.
And so our band has had many incarnations. We're open to many different musicians that we form relationships that we want to work with, and really reach beyond genre into what speaks to our hearts and the content of what needs to be or wants to be shared. And so also with the orchestra, that part is essential.
Mhm. Okay. How did the current incarnation of the band come together? Did you all come from other bands, or did you wake up one morning and say we should be a reggae band? Or how? Please describe the events that have brought you to where you currently are with I and I.
I guess it's been sort of a long road. We've played with a lot of different people through the years. We do have a core of people that have been with us most of the time. As of recently, you've probably seen this a lot with Barry J and Nevin, and that came out of, at one point I believe Treese, Adam Williams was playing with us. He was going out on tour with HR. Truck Treese was going out on tour, I believe, with G Love at the time, and we needed a drummer. And B Davis, who's also a great singer songwriter that plays keyboards with us and has for years, knew Nevin Thomas since he was a youth. I think he knew his father and played in other reggae bands around Trenton and Philadelphia with him. And he said, man, I know a great drummer. And as you may or may not know, wherever Nevin goes, Jerry follows with him. And so we end up with a wonderful keyboard players that
Yes,
love to sit and play with some family.
For the viewers watching this, if you're interested in more of the detail on that, I did a YouTube interview with Nevin and Derek about 2 or 3 months ago that showed every single band that they were involved with on a whiteboard.
Yes, sir.
And yes, I certainly
We saw that. Yeah,
you saw that. Okay.
That interview. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Freshie came to us really also as kind of a second to Ra Sunji, who's played with us through the years. Again, I've just been playing music for a long time around Philadelphia area and have been lucky enough to have a lot of great musician friends who also end up going to, have their own careers. So Rob played with us a lot. He ended up going out with Lauren Hill and a few others. So often it's just kind of like a family. I consider everybody part of the band, but we're not all on stage at the same time. Maybe like a P-Funk thing one day we will do that, 2 bass players, 3 keyboardists, but it's a revolving family. We've all played together. We all know each other well. They all know our tunes really, really well. They know how to improv with us and vice versa. So it's just kind of organically come together like that.
Okay. All right. So the next question is, who are your musical influences? I took the liberty of looking at your Spotify fans also like section, and 3 names kept on coming up: Scientist, 10-Foot Ganja Plant, and Lee Scratch Perry, of which I am not surprised in the least.
Well,
because
those are at least 2 of those. I love all 3. 2 of those are major influences for me personally as a producer, and I produce most of our music. I do try to pretty much dub every song that we do, if not once, twice. And those styles of production, to me, has always been the pinnacle of production and music, period. I feel like a lot of modern music really owes homage to King Tubby, to Mad Professor, to Scientists, and everyone that's come after them up till now. So those are huge names and I'm glad that the people that listen to them also listen to us. I never could have wished for anything better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm with you. Out of that list, two out of 3 I listen to quite religiously. I'm a little bit weak on Lee Scratch Perry because that's quite a long time ago. But I certainly, I have been known to put 10-Foot Ganja Plant and Scientist in rotation in my house.
Great music.
Yeah.
So, all right. Most artists who pursue the path of dub music have some type of studio background, or at the very least, an insanely strong instrument background. Is that the case with all of you? Because it does not appear that dub is a path that most people I've met follow naturally as reggae artists. But the one thing I've noticed about the ones who do, in particular, Giant Panda, Cultivated Mind, 10-Foot Ganja Plant, the one thing that they have in common is that they spend a lot of time in the studio before they ever went out to perform live. So they have a thing for arrangement before they perform. Is that the history with you all, or Tell me how you
In
gravitated towards dub.
Yeah, yeah, in a big way. In the early days, we grew up in Baltimore and moved to Philadelphia in late '80s, early '90s. And when I moved to Philly, I had played loosely with a couple bands, kind of on the punk rock, crossing over into reggae vibes in the late '80s, but nothing really stuck. And when I moved up here, I wanted to play music, was still meeting people. So I started buying studio equipment and just kind of making my own songs and looping my own stuff. And it became a love. It became sort of an obsession. It is hard to learn all that stuff. So you end up just kind of cramming in my, I stopped going out. I wasn't like a 20-year-old kid who's going out to the clubs and stuff like that. I just stuck in the crib and made music. But me and Cassie have always, we were high school sweethearts, so we always dreamt of having a band, and we would like write songs. And like I wasn't really singing, but she was always a singer, and in theater she'd sing me to sleep at night on the telephone when we were young youth. And so we were starting to jam. I play percussion, so I would play congas and she would sing. I started playing a little bit of guitar and some bass, and then I got a keyboard and some drums. And then when you're recording, you end up sort of learning how to play the drums, how to play the bass, because now you're a one-man band. And at one point you kind of get to the place where you're like, man, it would be nice to actually play with someone. So you start kind of stretching out. I started going to a place called the Middle East, who had a Monday night jam, a world music jam session every Monday night in Philadelphia through the '90s, which was stellar. The talent that was in the building it started off with Middle Eastern oud and dumbek and belly dance, and then by the end of the night it was full reggae bands, funk bands, everybody playing together. And so I started meeting a good amount of musician guys that I play with to this day, and getting them to come in and play on some of my productions. And that naturally went to Cassie writing a play called Birds of One Feather that she needed music for. So I said, well, I always wanted to write music for movies and plays and stuff. So I went ahead and with her came up with some ideas, which is really where I and I Arkestra came from. That was the first incarnation of I and I Arkestra. And we did the first Philadelphia Fringe Festival
ever
at the Betsy Ross House in I think it was 1996, 97 maybe.
We wrote that play for the Fringe Festival. They came to us and asked, do you have a show? I said, I can. and we created this project. It's a deeply spiritual reggae rock opera. It was amazing. And we did that for 2 years there. And that really was.
And from that time on, we just started meeting musicians, and I could meet the productions along with, at that point, you have a lot of songs written, and a lot of guys that are out playing, often they don't have time to sit down and write songs. So it was a positive thing. I could come to the table with songs, eclectic as they were. And that's kind of birthed into where we're at with the band these days.
Okay.
I think it's still very much like that, in the sense that we play, but then we have lots of time where it is in the studio every single day. So it's pretty much stayed. It hasn't just been something that happened in the beginning, but is something that is a part of our creative process, the work behind, before you see something out there, the work that goes into, and the creative process and the time into creating what it is you'll eventually hear or see.
Right. Well, it sounds like quite a journey. Sounds like you two kind of take your personal life to your life the same way that I have, just in a kind of a different way. But yes, I guess it starts off with learning how to do things, and when the opportunity presents itself, you don't say no. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, you got to jump in, man.
Okay, so just allow me a moment of indulgence here. This is a personal memory that I would like to share. Cassie, when we were on the phone, we were talking about the DC hardcore scene and the
Yes.
fact that that there were times where we were most likely in the same room back in the years 1989, 1990.
Yes.
While I was doing the legwork to prepare for this interview, I had no idea that Chuck Treese played for Underdog.
Yes,
Yes.
an amazing
And
band. One of my favorite albums that he's on too of that genre, by the
The
way.
Vanishing Point.
Really.
The Vanishing Point was a
Vanishing,
fantastic album, and I'm saying one of my greatest hardcore show memories ever was watching Underdog at the Safari Club
I
in
believe I was there.
1990.
Yeah,
You were
and I
there
think
too?
the Super Bowl hardcore. Yeah.
I mean, it's
What
a
a show, right? I still remember it, man. I do.
it was long ago and far
Yeah, that's
far
cool.
away, but there you go. That's the small world that we're talking about here. You know,
Well,
I
in
mean,
smaller, I was about 2 years ago. I was surfing in Belmar, and my son. It was must have been more than 2 years ago. My son was 15, 16 years old. It was a big day, and a guy said, "Oh, my son's surfing too. Your son made it out." We started talking, and it ended up being Richie from Underdog. He was like, "Chuck Cheese." I was
no
like, "Hey, he's in
shit.
my band," and now I still bump into him surfing from time to time. So some crucial guys right there.
So there
Very
you
much so.
go. I mean, I know this interview is about, reggae in the Philly area, not, New York
Well,
City hardcore in the DC area, but I just
DC
I
hardcore,
just think that it's just one
right?
of those
Yeah.
things where it's amazing that things can go full circle, you know? So yeah, so you were in that room too,
Yeah,
huh?
the rosters. I used to meet a lot of. I would meet a lot of rosters at hardcore shows in DC, and it was a big influence on my life. Also, meeting HR growing up,
Hmm.
and Daryl Jennifer from the Bad Brains, was always looked out, and there was always elders coming around. Even Ross Michael. That's how I found out about a lot of that. My first dub tape was given to me by Squint, who was like that time. So I I owe a lot to that scene, introducing me to the things that I attach to next in life.
Hmm. Okay, let's talk about um
Yes,
you got Rob Payne, otherwise known as Solomonic Sound System, to do a dub version of one of your albums, correct?
correct. It was the single, or it was a rhythm, Dreadlocks Tree Rhythm. Um,
Hmm.
Timmy Tanzania. We had an I and I song. We had a Timmy Tanzania song. We had an HR from the Bad Brains song, and B Davis. And Rob did a remix of it, which is incredible. And I believe he put that on a Philadelphia compilation that he was putting out at the time. And Rob is someone who I always bounce ideas off of. He's a great producer, great guy. He's put on a lot of excellent reggae shows. We did a thing with Matt Professor last 420. And I hope to do more with him. Rob Payne's great. Salmonic
I
sounds
did.
great.
I met Rob Payne before I knew who he was. He was he was DJing opening for Black Uhuru at Ardmore Music Hall, and I just went
Okay.
up and started talking to him. I mean, I didn't know who he was, and then later on I realized, I'm like, oh, that's Rob Payne. So
Excellent.
that's one of the things about being in the reggae business, is that sometimes you've met people and you know people before you know who they are, and
That's right.
then in retrospect it comes back and you learn it. Okay. All right, so let's start to wrap this up. This is the easy portion. This is the relaxed part.
Right on.
What was the most memorable show that you ever did?
Maybe.
You first. I don't know.
I'm probably speaking of Rob Payne. It might have been one of his shows, and you mentioned Jamaican Dave earlier, and I definitely know he was part of the show. But it was probably our first big show at the TLA way back when, and we had the honor to open up for Lee Scratch Perry with the Robotics Band, and he was being mixed on that tour by the Mad Professor. And as I'm
Wow.
on stage, we're new to big stages,
Yeah.
and I'm up there playing, and I'm hearing like crazy stuff coming out the monitors, and I'm looking at the guitars like, what's happening? He's like, it's not me. And I looked at it, and he points to the back, and I look to the back, and Mad Professor is on the boards, just like dubbing is crazy, So like, and at
Yeah.
that age, I mean, that was just a mind-boggling show for me, just to start off my career. It
I
was
would,
excellent.
yes. I'm a big fan of Ed Professor myself. That's definitely another one that goes into my rotation. And I wonder, as a matter of a technical skill, the number of things that you need to keep in mind to go do that type of effect work and to do it live, to do it
Yeah,
real
just mixing
time.
live. Yeah, just mixing live like a normal show is incredibly hard.
I
And to
mean,
be
I
able
just
to
it would just appear as almost impossible to me,
is
but they
very
do it. Okay.
these guys are technical geniuses. They really are.
Yeah. What about you, Cassie? What was your most
So
memorable show?
I don't know, because when I think of it, there's different reasons that make up, what is your most memorable show. Is it, there's so many that the sound was just so beautiful and warm and right, and you could really lose yourself in the lyrics and the content. And then there's other shows you have to work really hard with the sound, and you just have to be more technical because it's not such a great sound situation. There are great stages, there are great audiences, and they not always align at the same time. So,
Right.
I give thanks for the stages that we have played on, and the shows that we've done. They've been amazing, and in general. So, and I think, coming back many years later and opening for Lee Scratch Perry again at the Ardmore, I would say is that's my most memorable show.
Yes.
And to have that history from, one of our very, very first shows in like 2001 or 2000 or whatever it was, to now, it was really tremendous, and it was a great show. Great musicians, great energy from the crowd, beautiful, beautiful sound. So, and what an honor, before he
Okay.
passed.
All right. So the next question is a similar one. What was the most comfortable or perfect actual venue that you ever performed at? Like I don't know, the place that had the best sound, the place that treated you the best, the place that was easiest to work a crowd. Out of all the places you performed, what was the place that you would always wind up going, given a choice, you would always wind up going back to if you had the opportunity?
Well, I would like to say, and I know you feel the same way, I would like to give a shout out to One Art Community Center
Well, yeah.
in West Philadelphia, to Malika and Yahn and the projects that they have going on there, but where it started. And that is a project of love. I would say a house of love, but it's like a whole block of love.
Oasis of music.
Yes,
Is that the location of 52nd and Lancaster?
Yes,
Correct.
it is.
Yeah.
And they run
Okay.
cultural programs, healing programs, agricultural programs, environmental programs. They serve over 10,000 members of their community, our community, annually, but it's always been like home.
It's do it yourself too, which is amazing.
Yes.
What Yahn built that huge stage pretty much by hand,
Yes.
and so it's cool to have something like that that's underground. I mean, you take people in there, it's a Rasta compound, and they're
Yes.
just like, am I on 52nd Street right now? You're like, yeah, you're a couple blocks from the Man Music Center. But and playing at the Man was always fun.
Yeah.
And to have those two things in the same area right there, what a mecca for music in Philadelphia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Is there anything that you would like to plug? I don't see that you have any upcoming shows on the radar screen. I know we're in the middle of winter.
Yeah, our shows coming up are in the summer. We'll be playing the Lion's Heart Spring Fest. I'm not sure if we'll be at the Lion's Heart Music Fest. We played that last year, but they're having a spring festival
Okay.
in the beginning of June. I don't know the date yet. And then, we also play at Rising Sun, Maryland on August 3rd. So a couple things coming up in the summer. We'll probably do a couple before summer. We usually do, something local in Philadelphia. But we got a few songs. I just did a collab song with Jimmy Dredd from Innocence called Dodge that people can check out everywhere. It's on Spotify. So just look up Jimmy Dredd or I and look up the song Dodge. It's a ganja tune and it's a fun song, something different than I've done before.
And the road rhythm.
And we just put out a song on the road rhythm with Jati Jr. And that's called End of Days. You could check that out. That's out there online everywhere where you get your music. And
that's with Ross Gem, Rasta Biggs, but Zebby Griffiths.
Oh, we have we have two songs. I with Zebby Griffiths that'll be out in probably the next couple months too. Zebby Griffiths is a great roots artist from Jamaica that happens to be in Philadelphia that we've been working with too. So mainly music out there online. If you just go to I Arkestra, IYIA.com. Also, we did a song Him Him with Timmy Tanzania. That came out last year, but it's still new. You got to push this stuff in this realm. Yeah. But
Timmy's been a member of I Arkestra for many, many, many years. He is part of the heart of I, and we give thanks to Timmy being the dub warrior.
Yes,
Excellent. Excellent.
And I'd like to thank you, man. I'd like to thank you for supporting reggae music. I've seen you at so many shows. You must go to them all. And
I try.
I wish you a lot of luck, man. We need more people in all aspects of the music, in the conscious music sector. I guess in all the music sector, the music business has suffered by not having full cohesive units of people that all play their parts in the music. So I thank you for what you've done.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Allow me to take this moment to plug my own show. Coming up Thursday night, January 4th at Milk Boy in downtown Philly. There will be Sun Dub, Mighty Mystic, and the Exaltations opening. That would be formerly the Philly Reggae All Stars. And
beautiful.
If anybody wants tickets, please let me know. I will find a way to make that happen. And
those tickets.
Yes, for all the viewers here, once again, thank you for taking time out to join us, and continue to stay tuned into CMB Reggae every week for new content, new interviews, and the latest of happenings going on in the Mid-Atlantic in the reggae world. Take care, everyone. And good night.
Yeah.
Bless.